In real estate investing and frankly, wealth creation, it is often thought and discussed as bigger is better. You should always be growing. And the reality of life is that is poppycock and maybe even horrible advice. I think there are lots and lots of times where portfolio owners should actually step back and prune their portfolios. We're going to have a conversation with Cody Davis, who has gone through a massive pruning. We're also going to talk about what Olivia and I have done over the years to prune properties. And again, it's not always growth at all costs. Sometimes you have to go step backwards to go forward. Cody, this is a topic near and dear to your heart. You've done a tremendous amount of pruning, and the result is a much more stable foundation. But talk about pruning your portfolio.
I'm going to give two examples. The first is the first piece of data I was ever given. My first mentor said, build a business until the total rents that you'd collect after your property expenses gives you freedom. So if you want to make 10 grand a month, you probably go build a portfolio to 15, you'll have 5 in expenses, you get it paid off, you're at 10. That's where you stop growing. And that's what all of his clients ended up doing. And what I found is that takes a little bit longer than the way I did it, and neither's wrong. But I think you should actually build your portfolio a little bit bigger than you think you need, and then prune off the worst deals. And you're not going to know what the worst deals are until you have a little bit of time under your belt with that portfolio. So what I ended up doing is I built to 240-ish, 250 rentals. I sold down to 130. I'll probably sell down to about 100. And having operated that many rentals, you don't need that many. You could take off a zero. You figure out what you like, what you don't like. What I liked in the beginning changed after running it for some time. And so I think you should try and build a portfolio that, number one, would get you exactly what you want as far as a cash flow goal if it was paid off or lower leverage. And then two, figure out of those, which are your favorite. Because if you just own a whole bunch of rundown or properties that take up your time, but you have financial freedom, that's probably not what you want. And that's just going to take time. And that's not the answer 19-year-old Cody would have wanted to hear, but it's the answer that I'm going to give.
Yeah. I think pruning your portfolio, I think there are lots of reasons to do it. I think the first one that comes to mind is something that Olivia and I did, I think for the first time, a decade ago. And something we had always done, because again, you got to get ready for your taxes. We would always get together and look at our yearly performance across our portfolio. And for whatever reason, this one property stood out as a major headache, right? It lost money one year, maybe broke even the next year, but grossly underperformed expectations, right? This particular property never performed, right? I thought it would be a great deal, and it frankly wasn't even a good deal, right? This was a bad deal in practice. And, no matter what we did, it's just area of town, property type, neighbors, whatever it was, it just was snake bitten. And then for whatever reason, we had a conversation with our property manager about our portfolio. And this particular property was responsible for something like 60 or 70% of all the headaches. And
Wow.
when you have a portfolio at the time of almost 200 units and you got this little triplex as that much of a headache, it was really an easy sell, right? So we sold that property. We paid our taxes. And sure enough, the amount of headaches went down. So again, I guess there's a couple of tidbits here. First and foremost, even I buy great deals that turn out to be bad deals, right? And you got to learn the lessons. And I was happy to prune that property. And we actually took that experience forward. Every year or two, we always look for the problem property. And we ask ourselves, is it time to sell? In fact, we just listed a property last week or maybe the week before that is now one of those problem properties. And actually just took a price reduction today. So again, we're living by example. And then the other thing to think about, you talked about, is debt, right? One of the things you're going to find out as you own stuff for 5, 10, 15, 20, even 25 years, like Olivia and I have, is you're going to get to play with the debt picture. And again, that's something we're doing today. We started 2 refis because we're looking to extract multiple 6 figures because we want to have optionality on what we think's coming. So again, happy to prune properties that are problems, but also happy to go collect some equity so that we can use it if we so desire. So lots of reasons to prune the portfolio.
And something worth noting is a property's success isn't just dictated by the finances of the property. And there have been properties that I've made a lot of money on that I would just rather get rid of. And I'd rather get a 4% return with a different property than get a 7% return on the ones that I currently have. That in the beginning, you can't know that. And even if someone tells you that, you're not going to believe it. Well, most people won't. But there have been a lot of deals where I'll get a 4% return on equity rather than 7%. And I'd take the 4% every day of the week.
For
and
sure.
So that's my new goal. It's like, I want to get the money out so it's infinite, but then I don't want those super high cap rate, high rate of return deals because there's a reason that they're that high. It's you have a 19-year-old banging his head against a wall or her head against a wall just to get the deal done. And then you're like, oh, I realized why other people didn't want this.
Yeah. The hassle factor. Yeah. Yeah. The other thing you brought up that I think people really need to lean into, and it's such wise advice from a young man, is, first off, know your number, right? I think your example was 10 grand, but your next statement was really the key is then build the portfolio to 15 and then cut back. Because again, something we did when I retired in 2018, our entire portfolio at the time was probably 70%, maybe 65% LTV. But given that Olivia and I both were exiting 6-figure jobs, we actually looked at our portfolio, reduced it some, and paid off a bunch of debt because we wanted to have this oh shit pile of free and clear properties that, heaven forbid, 2008 came again, we would be fine, right? Because again, we wanted plenty of FU money so that we wouldn't have to go back to work. So again, I love the idea of knowing your numbers, 10K in your example, build to 15 and then prune and consolidate and reduce LTV. I think that's wise advice.
Well, and it's also about exposure. I mean, pruning your portfolio back, you could have 20 units and cash flow the same as if you sold down and had 10. I like to think about Dion. Dion has more free cash flow than I do.
Sure.
And he's in the 20 unit count, right? 19 units.
Yeah, something like that. Yep.
I have 8 times his unit count. If I consolidated down to his unit count, I'd be debt free. But I'd probably have a similar cash flow that I have today. So that would be a lot less exposure. And pruning, you got to figure out what your risk tolerance is. Because for someone who doesn't want to play the game twice, it might make sense for them to pay the taxes, just sell everything and go down to that unit count. If they had a portfolio like mine, your upside gets capped pretty hard, but so what? I mean, is an extra 0 going to make you happier? And to a point it will, but go from 100 grand to $1 million, but is $1 million to 10 or 10 to 100? Is that really going to do anything at that point? Probably not.
Yeah. It's funny you bring that up. I've seen Graham Stephan recently talk about 10 million is the magic number. Maybe we'll talk about that in a minute. But the other thing I want to talk about pruning, one of the things that I'm doing, back to hassle factor, one of the things that I will likely execute, I plan to, but we'll see if it happens, is I'm going to sell some of my older stuff, right? I own stuff built before 1920. Like I think I have a 1912 house. And I'm going to very likely sell that in 1031 into new construction. Mm-hmm. So, try to use some numbers. So, I think I can get a new construction deal for roughly $400K. And this particular property, let's say, has $200K in equity. So I'm going to sell it 1031 that 200 into a new construction, go get a new construction loan or a loan from the builder and be sitting at 50% LTV. But what I've done is I've sold a 1912 headache, which always needs work, non-custom windows. I mean, everything's custom in this freaking house. And I'm just going to upgrade my portfolio. So again, the cash flow will be less because again, today it's free and clear and I'm going to have 200K in debt, but my property is going to get younger. And the reason I want to do this is I'm not thinking about myself. I'm thinking about my daughter, right? What do I want to give my daughter in 20 years or 30 years? I don't want to give her a house that's over 100 years old. I'd rather give her a house that's 20 years old. So again, as you get to the end of the game, there are lots of reasons to prune the portfolio, reposition equity, and still have some fun.
Yeah, and by the time that you pass that on, you mentioned 20 years. In 20 years, it will have doubled more than likely.
Probably.
So that's an $800,000 house. If it's in 30 years, maybe it's north of $1 million. The rents will be higher. So even though your cash flow goes down, your payment on that, if rates are 7, it's gonna be 16 grand a year on a $200,000 loan.
Right.
So you got a $1,300 payment. If you can at least, it'll cash flow. Like
Yeah, for sure. Oh yeah, 50% down. Absolutely.
So I mean, you don't need the cash flow. So the ability to prune and just upgrade the age. I was becoming an insurance risk. I think we talked about that before I bought my first 7 unit. I had so many older buildings that I was being looked at by lenders as a risk, insurance as a risk, because everything is old. And I don't have anything from 1912, but
got some old stuff.
I got a 38 building, so getting close.
There you go. There you go. So again, I think there's lots of reasons. Again, I think there's one of the things that I sometimes see in our school community is people, celebrating getting their 5th, their 7th, their 12th, whatever. But I do think there's sometimes you got to step back and prune. I think of Frank, one of our school members, had a property that was giving him tons of problems, tons of headaches. I'm like, dude, Frank, just sell that thing. Right. But Michael, I'm going to go down. It's okay. You're going to get peace of mind. You're going to get re-energized. You're going to get some equity back, and you're going to fight another day. Right. There are sometimes you just got to go, you know what? I bought a deal. I thought it was going to be a great deal. It turned into a dud. It's okay to sell it. Learn the lesson, move on. Don't just keep it to keep it. That's the wrong reason. Right. If it's a problem, recognize it and sell it and move on.
Yeah. And back to that number you threw out earlier, 10 million from Graham Stephan. Yeah. That's my next egotistical net worth bullseye. Net worth doesn't matter, but what I like about that number is if I'm earning 4%, which I think is conservative for equity, $400 grand a year is definitely freedom.
You would think, yeah.
Well, when I live on 50 grand a year, I can increase my lifestyle quite a bit on 400.
yes, you can. Yes.
So,
it's fun, yeah.
And to get there, I have to go backwards to go forwards is the best path. I could have kept scaling the old stuff, but the problem is if I did that, having right now, scheduled assets is north of 10 million. If I were to double that or triple that, which is what it would take to get to that $10 million equity position, the way I was doing it, then the headaches, I couldn't service them. I don't have enough maintenance guys. I don't have enough. The manager wouldn't be happy with me. I wouldn't be happy. Yeah. You can't scale stupid. I mean, and granted, what I did works and it is repeatable, but it is very difficult. And adding a 0 to that would be near impossible.
Yeah. At some point you stress the system and the system crumbles, and you saw that coming. So you took ownership of that. And, you're in such a better place today. You call it going backwards. I call it rebuilding the foundation. You had a bunch of termites in your foundation and it was getting shaky, but you stopped, you retreated, and now the foundation's cement and steel. So you're fine. You can go as high or wide as you want now because your foundation is solid.
Yeah. And that should be the goal for everybody when they're thinking about pruning. It's like, you're going to make mistakes in the beginning. It's just, how do you adjust? And what's the most efficient path forward with what you have? Because everybody's pieces are different. Your pieces are different than mine, but you have to play the cards you're dealt. And my cards were big business, fast, but shaky foundation. Now, smaller business, pruned a little bit, but it's a little bit more solid. And that gives me more confidence to go do deals. And it gives lenders, that's something that was really interesting, unexpected takeaway. When I bought my first 7, lenders looked at me different because I wasn't just buying the really cheap stuff. Because I paid $235 a door. Oh, wow. Which is market value. So I'm not buying the cheap apartments, and I'm continuing to do that. So it inspires a different level of confidence if you rework your portfolio to be more stable.
Love it. Cody, you're amazing. Again, pruning a portfolio. It's funny. You're 25 years old, right? 25? How old are you?
I just turned 26 2 weeks ago.
26 now. Dude, you're an old man. It's funny to think about a 26-year-old having the intelligence, fortitude, and experience to prune the portfolio, but you are a living, breathing example. You're going to be kicking off our event in Vegas in basically a month, man. It's a month away. I can't wait to see you there and your wife. It's going to be a lot of fun. Where can people find you?
Cody Davis Business Adventures on YouTube. Post every Tuesday and Thursday.
Awesome. Thank you, family.
Thanks.